Welcome to the Redirect, Regroup, Refocus podcast with your host, life coach Jeff Relaford. This podcast is designed for those who wish to change their inner self in order to maximize outward potential. So come redirect, regroup, and refocus with your number one life coach, Jeff Relaford.
All right. Hello. What's going on, everybody? And thank y'all for listening again to the Redirect, Regroup, Refocus podcast. You know, y'all are faithful listeners every week, and I thank you all for your participation, you know, because you could be doing anything, but guess what? You are listening to an episode of the Redirect, Regroup, Refocus podcast with your host, life coach Jeff Relaford. So, as y'all know, I just like to get right into it. So that's what we're going to do. We are definitely going to get right into it. And I have a question for you all today. I just want to know, is femininity dead? Plain and simple. You know, we not even going to try to sugarcoat a dance around the question. I just want to know if femininity is dead. And the reason why I asked this question is because I was listening to my cousin's podcast, The Views and Opinions. Shout out to my cousin Ron Reed, who has The Views and Opinions. Y'all check him out, man. He's on Facebook. I'm going to try to see what he could do to get on different platforms like this as well. You know, Apple, Spotify, the whole nine, you know, that joint. But I was listening to his podcast, The Views and Opinions. He was doing something called the VNO Vibes. And that's a little spinoff of his podcast that he's trying to do. You know, where they have just real life conversations. They talk about stuff, blah, 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 woo, woo. So as I'm listening, you know, one of the things that they were talking about was femininity. You know, a woman walking in her feminine energy and not her masculine energy. So, and I feel that kind of has to be defined. You know what I mean? When we say feminine energy, we're talking about a woman who doesn't mind letting a man do some things in a manly way. You know what I mean? So let's say, for instance, he wants to open up that door. You know what I mean? She doesn't have to have the mentality saying, well, I'm going to get my own door. You know what I mean? Or he wants to open up the car for her, or hold her hand and help her into a facility, pull out a chair, little stuff like that. You know what I mean? A woman actually allows him to do those things. And let's take it a step further. When he leads, is she allowing him just to lead? You know what I mean? Maybe he doesn't need the nagging ear all the time. And I say the nagging ear because it can be perceived that way to a man. I'm not saying that that's what women do. I'm just saying that that's how something has the opportunity to be perceived by a man. Okay? So sometimes we can take help and we can think it's nagging because, you know, it's something we can do on our own. So, once again, I just asked the question, is femininity dead? You know what I mean? I can't speak for women because, you know, I am a man, you know, so I'm not even going to dare try to speak for women or by women, you know what I mean, by asking the question if femininity is dead to them. It's just an overall, like, broad question, you know. Because when we look at society today, you know, me and my cousin, we also talked about this a couple weeks ago, how society perceives or has really shaped how men and women think, you know. So with femininity, in my eyes, my view, my opinion of it, you know, with my wife, I feel that my wife is in her feminine energy a lot. You know what I mean? A lot. And, you know, some women may define masculine energy as being more dominant, being more controlling, you know what I mean? Wanting to tell that man what to do and how to do it. You know, there's a difference between showing your man, okay? Showing your man how to do something, all right? But then telling him. And if you're going to tell him, how are you telling him to do it? You know, are you coming off harsh? Are you coming off rude? Is it more like, well, why you always do this? Whoa, slow down. You know, because let's be real. If the shoe was on the other foot, how would that look? Not Once again, not placing blame or saying that that's what women do. I'm simply asking the question, is femininity dead? That's all I'm doing. So, from the eyes and the perspective of a man, when we look at femininity, all we want is a man to really, no, not a man, a woman. All we really want is a woman to do for us. All we want a woman to do for us is to really just support us, love us, and when we lead, allow us to make, whether it's the good or the wrong choice. And I'm not saying something detrimental. Women, I'm not saying go ahead and allow your man to make a detrimental choice, that can cause any hurt, harm to you or your family. That's not what I mean by that. Sometimes a man can make a small decision. Maybe it could be something like how he wants to go about fixing the car. You know what I mean? How he wants to go about doing something in the house. As women, y'all tend to be a little more analytical, so you may do something a little bit different, or it might be a little more calculated, which is fine. We don't take that away from y'all. That's a great skill to have. You know what I mean? But with men, we must do. You know what I mean? We must do. So, with asking the question if femininity is dead, how are you approaching that man? How are you approaching that man? Are you coming at him in a way to where he does feel attacked? Because as men, we can feel attacked as well. You know what I mean? So, once again, when I ask is femininity dead, how are you as women approaching men? Just ask yourself the question. Once again, this episode is not to place blame on anyone. If you listen to the message at hand, then you will understand. But what happens is sometimes what we tend to do is we tend to take the negative aspect from what somebody is saying. We insert ourselves into the negative role, and then we associate that negativity with what's being said. And sometimes that's not what's being said. So to clarify, that's not what I'm saying in terms of negativity. Not trying to look at this in a negative way. Once again, ask yourself the question, how are you coming at him? How are you approaching different subjects and or situations? Because everything I'm saying does work on the flip side. Nothing that I'm saying here is one-sided. But once again, we're speaking on the topic of femininity, so that's what I'm going to stay on. So as a woman, how are you approaching that man? With conflict, with good things, with resolution. If you have a disagreement, are you open and willing to talk about it? Or, now, I do understand this. Women are more emotional. I get it. But I have a question. Why is it that, we'll say with femininity, we want women to tap into more of the emotional side, which is fine. And as men, we should not knock that at all. But sometimes there are women that want men to tap into their own, not feminine ways, but more so of that softer side. A man can still be a man and cry, people. Let's say that. A man can still be a man and cry. A man can still be a man and feel hurt, feel pain. That is a natural human response that we have to situations, for us to adapt to certain situations around us. Things make everybody scared. Things make everybody mad. Things make everybody happy, joyous, So just put yourself in that perspective. You know what I mean? That there are certain things and situations that affect men differently, and there are different things that affect women differently. But I asked the question, why is it that, we know that women are more emotional, but sometimes why is it tough for that man to reciprocate that same energy if she wants him to be a little more softer? Now, how this fits in with the femininity is that he is catering to her more softer need. You know what I mean? So in order for a man to come at you and be hard all the time, I've heard that will turn women away and get them out of their feminine energy, because the man is always so demanding, or he might come off hard or harsh or rude, But I challenge you with this, though. did it ever occur to you that maybe that femininity is what can help calm a man down? That femininity is what can actually help, okay? Actually help turn the tide of certain situations that can actually go on in your household. You know what I mean? I always say this, man, y'all women have a lot of power. And sometimes I feel what the feminist movement has done is it actually allowed you all to relinquish that power. Because if you were to channel more of your feminine energy, you would actually see the type of power that you actually have. So that power is not in a job. That power is not in your career moves. Okay? That power is not based on your, how can I put it? I want to say your decision making, but you have to, you're still within the realm to make good decisions. So let me say that. You don't have to base it all on your realm to make just good decisions. It's not based on it. It encompasses everything. It encompasses everything. The situations that you go through in life, how you perceive the world, different things like that. You know what I mean? Your hurt and your pain and your trauma that you have been through. You know, are you still allowing yourself to be a woman as opposed to being a man? And what I mean by being a man, before anybody gets offended by that, what I mean is that tapping into that energy. That's what I mean. Tapping into that masculine energy. So we making sure that we don't offend nobody, because guess what? It's already been said. It's already been clearly defined. And I said what it means. It means just tapping into that masculine energy. Now, I heard a woman make a statement and say one day that she had to be both mother and father. My mother says this avidly. She says it all the time when she tells her story about being a single parent. And my rebuttal to that is, Mom, you could only be a mother to me. You didn't teach me anything manly at all. I had to learn that from other men. So what I had to learn from my mother, I feel what my mother should have taught me, was how a woman is supposed to be, how she's supposed to act, how she's supposed to treat me. You know what I mean? To me, that is more that nurturing side and stepping more into that feminine role in teaching your son how to perceive women. Because men at times, what we do is we tend to get the game just a little bit misconstrued sometimes. I ain't saying that we're wrong about everything, just as women aren't wrong about everything. But both sexes have an opportunity and a chance at times to miss the mark. You know what I mean? To miss the mark. And a lot of times when you have women who walk in that masculine-esque energy, you know what I mean? Don't be surprised if you end up missing the mark a little bit. Don't be surprised if you tend to take over a little bit and you can be a little bit overbearing or overpowering for that man. Because a woman knowing what she wants is a great thing. My wife knows exactly what she wants. You know what I mean? And I love that about her. You know what I mean? She knows how she wants to perceive life. She knows what she wants to get out of life. And for the most part, she is going out and doing it. You know, through our conversations that we've had and different things that she says she wants to achieve and do. You know what I mean? Some things have shifted along the way. But nonetheless, my wife has still kept the fact of what she wants to do. You know what I mean? She's kept that. And she hasn't steered away from it. And she loves it. But what she's not doing is she's not forcing and infringing her way and her lifestyle onto me. Okay? That's a part of, to me, that's a part of what being feminine is. Allowing your man to still be a man, make his own decisions. You know what I mean? And try to lead the best way that he can. Once again, he's not always going to be perfect when he does it. Okay? That's not a part of the plan. Nobody said you had to be perfect. Because if a woman is looking for the perfect man, you're just not going to find him. You better off just remaining single, as is a man. You're not going to find a perfect woman. You can find somebody who has those similar likes and interests, blah, 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 woo, woo, woo. But once again, we are asking the question, is femininity dead? So, once again, in order to ask that question, we have to look at how women carry and perceive themselves. So on a societal level, what we all see on social media and Reels and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, it's a lot of overly sexualized stuff going on with women. Now, it's kind of sad and it sucks that these women that do this, it puts all women in a category. Let's be real. So it puts all women in a category because 9 times out of 10, how many men, let's just say on average, and I'm not a statistical guy, by no means, and I'm going to say this too, by no means am I trying to throw out statistics or anything. These aren't factual statements that I have backed up by numbers and all that other stuff like that. This ain't no Kevin Samuel show, y'all. This ain't the way we going. All we trying to do is we just throwing out some scenarios here. So let's say a man lives his life and he links up with we'll say 4 or 5 women. He either casually dated or dated seriously in his lifetime. You know the 6th woman that comes along, if he's not careful, what he's going to do is he's going to end up basing those 5 women. He's going to base the 6th woman off the 5 women that he was previously with. Now, this is how perception is built, and this is how we as a society think, because the perception is that women are nagging, women don't know what they want, a lot of them are gold diggers, blah, 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 woo, woo, woo. Now, I'm saying is just pay attention to what society is putting out there. Once again, I'm talking about social media, TikTok, Reels. Oh, excuse me, y'all. Dang, videos, the whole 9. So you wonder, and women, you wonder why, and you ask the question, well, why do men perceive me the way that they do? It's not that they don't know you. So let me put it that way. It's not like that man knows you, okay? So it's not the fact that he's perceiving you that way, but the only thing he has to base off and go off of you with is what his past was. And or does a woman. The only thing that she has to base that man off of is what? Her past. So if you get done wrong by 3 or 4 people, guess what's going to happen until you get over that hurt, you get over that hurt and pain, and you heal from it. You will continue to dog out every guy that comes along because you are comparing him to the last person that you were with. Man, this yawning and coughing, man, is crazy. My mouth is kind of dry. I should get something to drink. I think I will do that in a moment here. But same as the man, you know? So when we look at femininity and we look at how that actually affects the man, okay, how it affects the man and what he's looking at. If he's dealt with these 4 or 5 women that have nagged, that have gotten on his nerves, that won't actually try to let him live his life, okay, that won't actually try to let him live his life, make his own decisions, that is strictly going to be the perception that he's going to have. And I'm guilty of that too. Even when I sat up in, when I first met Megan, and even, I won't say more so in the marriage, but just more so in us first seeing each other. You know, what I had to learn is women have a lot of the same characteristics, okay? And a certain type of woman, they have the same type of characteristics. And I tend to date the same type of woman. At the time, I was dating the same type of woman. It was a pattern. It was a trend. You know what I mean? So what I did was I took the pattern and the trend, and I stapled that pattern and trend onto her. That's not good. That's not good. So see, the effects of women not walking more so in femininity. I don't care how you dress. You can dress a certain way, okay? Just because a woman dresses up nice, that doesn't mean that she's feminine. That's not what that means. She's dressing up how she's supposed to dress. She's dressing up like a woman. You know, a woman can have on a nice dress, smell good and all that, but her attitude can be like terrible, effed up, horrible. Her attitude can be so bad. So that's what I mean by walking in that feminine energy. See, to me, femininity is that you are a woman that is confident, but you're still able to be submissive. And now what I mean by submissive people is because that will throw off a lot of people too. So see, I have to define myself a lot in this episode here because I'm saying some things that people can get misconstrued. And what I mean by submissive is not because we have submissive categorized the wrong way. A lot of women nowadays believe that it's just like, oh, I have to listen to the man. That's not what being submissive is. Being submissive is allowing him to get his point across, allowing to hear him. And in turn, he is also supposed to be submissive to you as well. So everything that I'm saying is it's never one-sided. Please, people, for everyone listening, please. It's not one-sided. I'm sticking on the subject of femininity. So the things that I say apply to femininity, but a lot of the concepts and the notions can be flipped both ways for men and women. So in terms of being submissive, that's something that's flipped around on both men and women. Because husbands are supposed to submit to your wives and wives are supposed to submit to your husbands. Biblical principles, people. Like I told y'all, I follow biblical principles. And a lot of biblical principles aren't just one-sided. They apply to both male and female. The problem is that what we don't want to do is we study these things and we have saturated it with views, with the views of what we believe is supposed to be. So that tends to carry down from generation to generation, teaching to teaching. You know what I mean? So I really need y'all to pay attention to that part of it. You know what I mean? So when I say submissive, all it is being open and willing to hear your partner out. You know? And sometimes women can get outside of themselves with that. Because let's just be real, y'all think a lot more than what we do. So y'all are more apt to jump to conclusions just a little bit more. I'm not saying that men don't jump to conclusions either, because me being a man, I definitely have jumped to conclusions plenty of times. But that was also only based off what I saw before. So, you know, people change over time. So if somebody happens to change, you know what I mean? You have to be ready for that. That's why you're not supposed to hold on to certain things. You have to let things go because people can change. You just have to be willing and open to that. If somebody shows you a consistent action or a pattern, that's different. A consistent action or pattern that can be negative. Let me put it that way, people. If somebody is showing you a consistent pattern that isn't detrimental, so I'm saying in terms of femininity, you know, if a woman isn't showing anything that can deem hurtful or harmful to the relationship, as she's walking in her femininity, you good. What are you really going to harp on? Okay, what? She might talk too much a little bit every now and then. You know what I mean? Or something just might be bothering you. You might just not want to hear her today. This is stuff that we all deal with. This is stuff that I've talked to men with on many occasions. That's the small crap, people. That is the very small crap, okay? But what I do hear when I do talk to males in conversation is this. Either they try to give a suggestion and their wife completely shuts it down. Because I do talk to married people because I'm married as well. So it's kind of hard to really take it from a single person because they casually date. So they can let somebody go, and be a little more selfish. But when you talk to somebody that's married, they in it for the long haul, yo. They in the game. So it's some stuff that you're going to hear a little bit different than you talking to a single person. So let's just say this. I sat up here, I talked to a married person or married peoples. And what I actually end up hearing is that sometimes the wife will nag. Okay? The wife will nag. Have an issue with what he's doing and how he's doing it. But in turn, won't get up and do it. Because she doesn't want to. You know what I mean? So just with that being said, you know what I mean? And this is with anybody. If you're willing to comment, that's one thing. But to comment and to get up and actually make the move and make it happen, that speaks volumes. So a lot of times, for instance, we'll just put it in my shoes real quick. In my marriage, it's a lot of stuff that I don't have to comment about because, one, it don't apply to me. It don't pertain to me. it's not my life and it's not my decision. And then what happens is I base it and I look at it and see if it's going to directly affect me negative or positively. If it has nothing to do to stroke my emotional side, I leave it alone. It is merely just a decision that's being made. Why is that up to me to hold on to it? So that's the thing. I get it with femininity. I get it with women and feminism that you are emotional. You are more emotional. I get it. But you don't have to hold on to that emotion. I'm not saying that it's going to get done overnight. It takes time to develop these types of skills. Even men have to develop these types of skills, not holding on to emotions. You know what I mean? So that you can actually hear what a person is saying. That takes time. So I feel that that is just a skill that when you walking in your femininity, when you're learning how to harness the power of femininity, because I'll say it again, I believe that women have so much power, and sometimes they underestimate the power that they have. And sometimes to hold on to brokenness, you know what I mean? Oh, wow, that is a big thing that throws off your femininity. Holding on to brokenness. Being a woman, yes, means you are going to be emotional. You are going to hold on to some things that you may have an attachment to. You know, but a dangerous woman is one that can let that go. Who can let that go? So that means in any waking moment, if you really messing up, you know, guess what? You know, if you really messing up, that woman has the ability to leave you and be fine with it and be okay and be confident in her decision. That is every man's worst nightmare. That if that man messes up, dang, is she really going to leave me? Is that really going to happen? Blah, 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 woo, woo, woo. Especially a man that loves his wife. Come on now. And that there is not actually masculine energy coming from a woman. I don't believe that is masculine energy coming from a woman. That's a woman doing what she got to do. You know what I mean? Just like any man would have to do what he has to do. You know what I mean? So that ain't got nothing to do with the energy. But women have so much power. You know what I mean? Women have so much power, and I believe a lot of times they underestimate that power that they have. A lot of times I believe they're not willing to harness that, because along with the feminist movement, what it did was it allowed women to look at where they're not equal, okay? Look at where they're not equal, and it also allowed them to take steps back. So then they start talking a little bit harder, walking a little bit taller, you know, portraying themselves with more masculine energy, saying phrases like, I don't need a man. Well, you do. My wife, we've had this conversation many times. She doesn't understand why women will say that, because she said, no, we need men. No, that don't work. It don't work that way. No. I should get in her face and mess with her right now while she on the phone right now and be like, no, it don't work that way, because she know that, and she looks at me. But yeah, we've had that conversation on many occasions, and that's what she'll say. You know what I mean? She said, no, we need men. I don't understand why women will say that. It doesn't make any sense to me. It throws some stuff off. You know, she says, I know that I need a man. Now, my wife is more than capable of living life on her own. She did that before I came into the picture. So, you know, my wife is more than capable of living life on her own. But she wanted to be with a man. That's what she wanted. She wanted that balance. You know what I mean? So to me, that's her walking in her femininity. That's her knowing what she wanted and or wants. Now, then when we start getting into specifics, you know what I mean? Hey, at the end of the day, I'm going to say this. If you're not letting a man be a man, if you're not letting a man learn from his own mistakes or try to figure out how he can get himself out of certain situations, you're taking away from him. Now, you can help him. And what I mean by help is offer that support. And if you have something to give it to him. You know, help and support doesn't always fall on financial. It doesn't always fall on emotion. It always doesn't fall on just always you being present. You know, it's a number of things that play a role into that femininity and how a man receives that femininity. You know, like I could be going through something. My wife could encourage me. That's all. That's enough. That's all I might need. You know what I mean? I might be on some hard times. My wife might slide me a couple dollars. You know what I mean? And I could do the same with her. But you know what I mean? That's another situation. You know, it's called teamwork. Marriage is teamwork. Marriage is not one-sided. You know, so a lot of times when you have more of the dominant woman has to now relinquish some of that energy where she would normally do things on her own and allow that man to take over in some aspects. Once again, being submissive is not having a man take over your whole life. That is not what it's about. Society has made women think that. Society has made women think that it is about that. So what do? Then they start talking about A, B, C, X, Y, and Z. You start watching all these reels, all these videos, all these different podcasts, blah, 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 woo, woo, woo. And what does it turn into? It turns into what me and my wife say, the battle of the sexes. The sex war. That's what it turns into. So now, the male isn't doing what he's supposed to do. The woman isn't doing what she's supposed to do. And now we're going back and forth with the blame game. All because, why? Of a simple word or phrase being said about women do not need men. Now, this strictly is just one scenario. I know for a woman listening on the other end of this, she probably saying, well, that's not the same thing. That's not, what do you mean, Life Coach Jeff? Different things can happen. Well, yes, I know different things can happen. But once again, I'm speaking to feminism. You know what I mean? This isn't an overall encompassing thing. And like I stated earlier, for the same things that can be seen on the male's point of view, you know, the same can be said on the women's point of view, but we're not sticking on that side of the spectrum right now. We're not hopping back and forth. With some of the examples, I have to hop back and forth so we have a clear understanding of what we're talking about. But for the most part, we're talking about femininity. So a woman saying that she doesn't need a man that's a big hit to your femininity. Because part of that is needing that validation from a man that you are beautiful, that you look good. You know, I sit up here and told my wife the other day after she got her head down, I said, "Oh, baby, you out here look good out here, looking a little good out here." You know, and she was talking about her gaining some weight and everything, looking good in them legs, girl. You look a little thick over there, little thick. Yeah, I'm talking about you. She looking at me from the side. I'm talking about you. Look at the little smile on the face. I see you, girl. Thick over there. So, you know, but that's what you do, you know, and that proves to my point, just a little banter and the interaction that me and my wife just had right now. As I was saying that, you know, she had a little smile on her face. Women want that. Women do need that. So you going to tell me you rather sit at home when you've arrived and you making you some good money, you successful and all that stuff, with your little bit of scotch or whatever and your glass and whatnot, you taking your strong drink and you sit there right next to your little your piano and whatnot, and you just hitting a couple keys and you like, dang, I'm all alone, B. Okay, it ain't gotta be that deep. Okay, y'all, I'm gonna stop. I'm just poking some fun. It ain't gotta be that deep. But the point I'm trying to make is that real talk. So, women do want to be married. Women do want to be with somebody. They want to grow. They want to build with somebody. So it's not all about always just saying that, you know, you don't need a man. And I'm not saying that all women say that. So because what we have to realize here is that, once again, it is a few women that make all women look bad, right? Just as it is for the few men that make all men at some point seem like dogs or look bad, you know. So what we have to stop doing is, when we look at femininity and what it is, what we have to stop doing is we have to stop trying to put women into a box. Okay, this is on all spectrums. Okay, concerning femininity, we have to stop putting women in a box. We just have to define what being feminine is. You know, it's more than just wearing the dresses. It's more than the outward appearance. What it is, it's more so catering to that man's needs and his responses. Okay? using that charm, that womanly charm that you all have so well, and it works. Okay, and it works. I'll put it to you like this. A woman doesn't even have to be all that attractive to a man. Can give him a compliment, and that man will value that compliment more from the baddie that they see on Instagram, who could have a snotty attitude and be stuck up because why? She's in it for the likes. And that's not all women. But as women do know, there are some women in this world that are about the likes. So once again, if that's not you and it don't apply to you, hats off to you. But if it has struck a nerve to you and you might be offended, maybe you might be that woman that's just for the likes. I'm just saying. But yeah, so, when it comes to femininity, y'all use that power that you have. Y'all use that power that's supposed to be matched with masculinity. You are not supposed to match masculinity with masculinity. No, that's not how God made you. God made you so what you can end up doing is you can actually take some of that energy, that feminine energy, use it to provide balance for that man. And when you provide that balance for that man, you get something great. You may end up with that man being able to tap into his own feminine energy. And what I mean by him tapping into his feminine energy, meaning he's able to come down to your level so that he can relate to you on a softer level. That's what I mean, people, by a man tapping into a little bit more of his feminine energy. Him being able to relate to you on your level so that now he's able to relate to you so that he can fit your needs. And what I mean by relate to you is him not saying that he is a woman or knows what all women go through, because no man will never, ever know what all women go through. But what he can do is sympathize with you in that moment on that level of your emotions. That's what I mean. Before any of that is taken out of context. Because the name of the game is trying to be relatable. And I will say this to the day I die. I've said this on my lives. If you follow me on Facebook, I've said that on my lives. It's about being relatable. Men should try to be relatable to women, and women should try to be relatable to men. Because at the end of the day, we all want the same thing. I always say that. A feminine woman wants the same thing as a masculine woman. But I'll tell you one thing, that feminine woman is more likely to get what she wants out of that man because she is tapping into her femininity. Let me tell you something. My wife can come over to me right now and get me to do something that I might not even want to do because she's talking to me in a certain way. She's being nice. She's being kind. You know what I mean? So she's tapping into that energy that she's supposed to have, that calm, that nurturing spirit. You know what I mean? Not the irrational, overly emotional, all that stuff. And what I mean by overly emotional is people. And I don't understand why women get offended when we say overly emotional, because other women do say that, yeah, I can be overly emotional. So my thing is, if other women can say they can be overly emotional, don't exempt yourself from that. Please don't. Because I've even seen the hardest of women be overly emotional about certain things and certain stuff. Where I was like, well, dang, didn't you just tell me that you're not going to take this or you're not going to take that? And you letting that bother you and affect you? And what's the thing that they always say? Well, I am a woman. Okay. So accept the fact that sometimes you can be overly emotional. Men can be overly emotional too, but we do it in a totally different way. Totally different way. But be feminine with it. Be feminine with it. Don't allow your emotions to get you so far gone that now you have to be aggressive. Okay? Now you have to be angry. Now you have to be bitter. The world has no place for angerness and bitterness. The world has no place for angerness and bitterness, people. And I'm speaking to my women. Just walk in the femininity that God has called you to walk into. Because with you being a woman, I guarantee you that is a trait that you are supposed to possess. You want to sit up here and land the man that you want? Walk in your femininity, and I guarantee you that you will get him. I guarantee it. I don't care what he does. Now, there will be people listening who say, well, what if he cheats it? What if he does it? Okay, you can't control what another person does. You just can't, people. So let's stop thinking that we all have the ability, because the man can say the exact same thing. He can be walking in his masculine energy, walking tall and confident, grab the woman that he wants, right? He can grab the woman he wants. But then what if she cheats? That's why he's not saying, well, what if she ends up cheating? Because he doesn't have to say that. Because it's a lot of times as men, what we do is we already accept certain things. We have the ability to accept what can happen already. So we don't have to sit up here and be speculating all the time. Now, if something is off, we'll speculate. But speculation is not the first thing that's at the forefront of our minds. We don't need that because we have an agenda. We have stuff to do. We got to get something done. So we're not worried about that speculation. But women will take that speculation sometimes and run to the bank. Just relax. Ease your mind a little bit. Know that everything is actually okay. And be okay with some things sometimes. You know what I mean? Because it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. If you're really in a situation where something calls for you to be different, to shift in a different way, by all means, do that. But if you are in a normal, regular relationship, okay, and something might be bothering you as a woman, approach it a little bit differently. Have the time and take the ability to walk more in your feminine energy. Look at how you talk to that man. Look at how different things may be perceived by that man, you know? And just try something different. Nobody's asking you to change your whole makeup. Nobody's asking you to sit up here and then just do everything, quote unquote, insanely different. But all I'm challenging you to do and asking you to do is to walk a little bit more in your feminine energy, which is calming, soothing, a little more laid back. Not saying that you don't have to take no mess, because a lot of women say, oh, I'm not want to be a pushover. That's not what I'm talking about. Pertaining to certain things, take the time to listen. Take the time to understand. Because if you take the time and listen, and sometimes if you take the lead on the emotional front, okay, if you take the lead on the emotional front, that man will follow suit. Because the emotional suit is totally different. Okay? That's how the women can be very powerful. A woman has the power to go ahead and do some things emotionally, and a man can follow suit from that because he will learn from you from that. So like I said, if you want that man to tap more into his emotional side, present it to him in a way to where you're not coming out so harsh, so strong. You know what I mean? But be able to break down the emotions to him so you can try to get it to him in a way where he can understand. And he might not get it right then and there. He might not. But show him some grace and allow something to mature and manifest from that. Allow something to mature and manifest. Things don't come overnight. Things just don't happen. It's not like, it may seem like he did a quick switch just like that. It might seem like he was very receptive and it just happened. But it takes time for that transition to take place. So have some grace towards him. As what he has to do is he has to learn you, correct? As you have to learn him. So put something out there so he can learn from you. And he can continue to learn you. Well, so all right, y'all. That's all I got for today. You know, Life Coach Jeff. These episodes are getting a little bit longer. I have noticed as we continue through the line with everything, the episodes are just getting a little bit longer, and I think that's great because that means we have good and interesting content to talk about. We have different things to share. And, you know, from a coaching perspective, once again, I asked the question if femininity was dead. Please, I hope I said something that can help you change your mind about something, help you look at something and be perceived in a different way. I'm not saying that you have to completely change who you are, but all I'm simply asking you to do is ask the question of, is that something that I do? If you at least ask yourself the question, is that something that I do? What it allows you to do is you open up a door for some type of correction or some type of self-awareness or self-analyzation. There's nothing wrong with taking an inventory check of you and yourself in your life at times. So women, I just asked the question, is femininity dead? Just take a little bit of time to look at yourself and ask yourself the question, am I really portraying and walking in the feminine qualities? Am I really walking truly in my femininity like I should? All right, y'all. Life Coach Jeff gonna get out of here, yo. You know, as always, I thank y'all for listening, paying attention. I'm gonna say one more time, I hope that you all took something out of this to help you change some type of perspective. So, all right, y'all. Remember, redirect, regroup, refocus. I love y'all. Peace out. Thank you for listening and tuning in to the Redirect, Regroup, Refocus podcast. We do thank you and appreciate and value you as a listener. Now, I would like to just throw in, please follow us on social media. You can follow us on Instagram as Redirect, Regroup, Refocus, and also Life Coach Jeff Relaford. You can also find me on Facebook as Jeff Relaford. That's my personal page. Go ahead, give me a follow there. I always put up some good inspirational content. And also the business page, Redirect, Regroup, Refocus on Facebook as well. So, all right, you all, thank you for tuning in. And next week, we will be here again. Remember, redirect, regroup, refocus. I love y'all. Peace out.